Well, good morning, Hill City Church. I know we should be at the park, but we're not.
Yeah,
what are
I'm
we doing?
actually super bummed right now. Of course, last week I talk about connection and the importance of it. I talk about how the one thing that I'm really going to be gearing, myself up for is finding new opportunities and new ways for people to connect. And we were going to start this second half of the year off with a bang with this party in the park, a place, an opportunity for all of us to connect as family. And it's been outside of 1 or 2 days for the last 3 or 4 weeks, it's been beautiful, sunny, beautiful. Sundays, the last 3 or 4 Sundays have been amazing. And of course, right now, it's raining, thunderstorms are on their way. So we're coming to you, Corey and I, live from the building.
Live from the building. Hey, but we will reschedule this event. My wife was like, you have to reschedule. Of all the events that you've canceled in the past and never rescheduled, this one you have to. We are looking in August. We have 2 dates. We're not going to give those to you yet because we got to call the park to make sure they're available. But we will reschedule this event in August. And so don't worry about that. But
yeah.
This morning.
Well, hold on. This was one of those events that we've been hyping up with the staff. We've been sharing it for over a month, how we're going to cancel the service because, again, I want to remind you why we're doing things like this and why we're trying to get outside the building. It's one thing for us to preach about us being the church, that we don't come to a church. We are the church. We get up and then we come together to worship together, to really practice the one another's with one another, love, build up, all that. But at the end of the day, sometimes we can say this over and over and over again, and yet in our vocabulary, in just the way we communicate, we forget that we are the temple in which God dwells, and then we are the church. It's not a building. And so we're going to continue to do things like this outside of the building, even though taking risk and doing something like this, sometimes things like weather and rain and thunderstorms happen, right? Interruptions, they just happen. It's called life. You all know exactly what I'm talking about. But this is one of those events that we were so looking forward to that we will for sure plan it, to
Next
do.
month?
And well, I know you say that, but we'll have to call the parks. Who knows? We'll see.
We'll
put a
it
date
happen.
out there later.
But we will be next week. We're starting a brand new series calling Feeling the Heat.
Feeling the heat.
I don't even know, and I should know. Feeling the Heat. It's actually going to be just like this, except for people will be in the room. It'll be really weird. But we're actually doing it like Christmas in July. It's going to be a lot of fun, talking about some things, planning up for the next 6 months leading up to Christmas. Why are you talking about Christmas in July? Because why not? It needs to happen. And so, yeah, that's all I've got this morning. I've got nothing.
No, that's okay. I think let's go ahead and give them a little bit more for the next couple of weeks because I really want people to make it a priority to be here.
I love you, Darren. If you're writing in the comments, I do see
Yeah.
you. That's why my computer's up here. If you want to share anything, or if you have a question,
I
maybe
wanna
we'll
see.
answer, because we're going to get off here real soon, and if you have a question, maybe we'll stay a little longer.
Yeah, I want to be able to see. How do you see the comments?
Right there.
Oh, okay.
Your mom said excited to be watching.
Okay. Yeah.
Hello, Katy Perry. That's a good name.
Love it.
What are you going to share?
No, I'm just looking. Sorry, I was trying to see comments. Yeah, so like Corey just said, if you guys had a question you want to write in with, go ahead and put that in the comments, whatever that may be. We'll try to answer it the best we can, or at least we will give a response. And of course, Daniel.
Cowboy Daniel.
Cowboy up, Daniel. Love that. But honestly, what I was thinking about today, if I can kind of shift it just a little bit and wait on any questions we might have, I want to talk about 2 things, I think, just real quick before we jump off of here. But today, experiencing this interruption in our plans, and for those of you that know me, and I know you know me, I am somewhat of a control freak, just a little bit.
Just a tad.
I like to have things planned out, and I like things to go how we plan them. But when things like this happen, these unforeseen events that shift or change our plans, honestly, I get rattled. And I've been rattled since last night, contemplating having to cancel this event because I was so looking forward to connection. Matter of fact, I know some of our friends actually can't be here a lot of Sundays because of work schedules, but they actually specifically took off work just to be at the park with us because they're so craving connection. And so it kind of broke my heart, and I'm sitting here in this And just two things come to mind real quick, and you can chime in on this maybe a little bit later, but I was thinking about how, like, Jesus and his disciples, they're out ministering, they're sharing, they're traveling, of course, they're walking everywhere. They're wore out at this time. And Jesus notices how drained they are, how, like, depleted they are, and he says, okay, let's get in the boat. We're going to go to the other side of the sea, and we're going to take a rest. We're going to chill. We're going to relax, kind of like take a mini vacation, something people or the disciples would have been really looking forward to. And, of course, as we know the story, they get in the boat. They're going to the other side, but word of Jesus and miracles and stuff have been, like, spreading, and so this crowd begins to follow alongside the bank. And by the time Jesus and his disciples get to the other side of the lake, of the sea, there's a crowd, and this is where there's 5,000 men on top of women and children. And it says that Jesus, moved with compassion, saw them as a sheep without a shepherd, and he began to minister to them. And this is where later on we get the story of the feeding of the 5,000 with the 2 fish and the 5 loaves. And what I'm thinking about in this story, though, is how rattled the disciples must have been. Like, the plan was to go take a vacation. The plan was to get away. But here, people interrupt their plans. And how they were still, and Jesus taught to still be moved with compassion. And again, if you follow through the Gospels, Jesus at multiple times, he's getting interrupted. Hey, my servant's sick, or my son died, or hey, my daughter is sick and she's not well. Can you come and pray? And Jesus is on a mission. He came to do something specific, but he's constantly being interrupted. But we hear about how he doesn't let these interruptions rattle him. He meets people in their season. He meets people in the moment they're in. He allows these interruptions to take place. Sometimes he's the one doing the interruption. Like, he had to go through Samaria to meet with the Samaritan woman at the well. Like, he wanted to interrupt her day. But I was thinking about how, and this is just an encouragement. Again, the first thing I thought of, because this was unplanned. Literally, we get here, we send out the text to cancel the event, and then I call my man Jordan, hey, can you come up and just turn the cameras on real quick? And this was the first story and the first thing that came to my mind, because I want us to be people that can handle interruptions and maybe can see something good come out of an interruption, maybe see something we're supposed to do. Maybe an interruption stops us or pauses us long enough to reconsider what it is we were doing in the first place. And so let that maybe be an encouragement to you this week, especially as we prepare, and as if you're a parent, preparing for our kids to go back to school. It's a crazy season, right? We got, things in mind. We got a lot of things to check off to get our kids back into school, and the shopping and the programming and the nights and whatever it may be, the practices. I feel like we run ourselves ragged so much, we sometimes don't slow down enough maybe to see those interruptions that we have an opportunity to do something with or do something in. And if nothing else, maybe it just causes us to pause and reflect, maybe just a little bit.
That's great. Actually, I do have something now that you said that, because
Yeah.
we're talking about expectations. I just read this book called The Atlas of the Heart by Brené Brown, and I was going on vacation. I read it on audiobook. It was like a 9-hour audiobook, but I had an 11-hour drive, so I listened to the whole thing in one drive because it was that good, which, if you were looking for a book, Atlas of the Heart by Brené Brown is phenomenal. And she was talking about expectations in one of the chapters and the importance of reality checking your expectations, talking about communication, things you're looking forward to, things that let you down. And she said that expectations must be examined and expressed. And when our expectations are not communicated, disappointment set in. So it's not asking for something doesn't mean you stop expecting it. So if I don't ask for my expectations or talk about my expectations, it doesn't mean I'm not expecting it. So guess what's going to happen if they don't get met? Disappointment. And so I stopped the audiobook to talk to Julia because we were going on vacation. I said, do you have any expectations for this vacation? And for the next 30 minutes, we got to verbalize our expectations so that disappointment wouldn't get set in. Because I was thinking, okay, I'm going to go up and have this nice, relaxing time. But I got 3 kids now, one a newborn. And until I vocalized it, I had this expectation plan that I'm going to relax, have some fun time, chill on the beach. And that's not really even a fair expectation with a newborn.
Yeah. Hold on just a second. Did, after processing it and verbalizing yourself, you processed out loud and you came to that conclusion?
Yes.
Or did you get feedback from Julia that
was
said,
both.
you do realize we both have a newborn to take care of?
It was both. I mean, it was a combination. And so we laid out these expectations that I had. And I had 3 expectations. I'm not going to share one. But one of them was talk a lot less and just listen and don't give my opinion as much. And that's been kind of something I've been challenged for the last several years, is to not be so opinionated, especially on topics I'm not well versed in. The second one was see this vacation through the lens of my kids' eyes. And it was, honestly, my wife helped me come up with this expectation. It was one of the greatest things to communicate, because I would have never came to that conclusion, came to that idea, came to that thought, and I would have never experienced vacation like that had we not talked about and verbalized our expectations. And it was one of the best vacations, not because it was restful. When you take a trip with 3 kids, it's no longer vacation, it's just a trip. And it was exhausting. And there was a lot of people in one house because all my brothers came to it. And it was like one of these things of, wow, I got to sit back regularly through each day and think about what my kids were experiencing as I was watching them. I was way more in tune to wanting to play with them instead of just chilling, or, hey, I'm not holding Zion for this hour. Maybe I'm just going to go and sit and relax. And instead of that, my son came up to me one time. Henry came up to me and was like, Dad, can you play with me? And I normally would have said, no, I'm going to go chill and relax. But then I went and played with him. And he actually said in this moment of playing on the beach, he said, Dad, thanks for playing with me. I was feeling very very not included with my cousins. And I was like, oh my gosh, like the most incredible moment happened because, and again, this was an expectation that was communicated, so it changed my process while I was experiencing this 10-day vacation with my family. And so you got to communicate those expectations and then reality check them with somebody.
Yeah,
So.
Speaking of reality checking them, I think for me, and we've talked a lot about this, a lot of times I don't put out expectations there, because as soon as I put an expectation on something, I only set myself up for disappointment or for a letdown. So talk to me and to us a little bit about that reality check moment, because we still should have expectations for things that we're doing for life or whatever it may be. I mean, you just did it for a vacation. Like, we can come up with expectations for our daily routines, for our workplaces, for our marriage, for our parents, in all acts of life, but what's the best way to reality check so that we don't put too many expectations, or maybe should we put a high expectation on something, because we know a lot of times we're going to have to be faced with disappointment. And I know I do that, even here. I'm so bummed about today, but I also get excited about the opportunity for families to stay home. Maybe they're watching right now, and then they just get a chance to be present in their kids' lives or with their spouses on a Sunday morning when they usually have to get up and hustle and bustle and get ready and drive somewhere and all the craziness. And then I know I've set expectations for serve days and things like that, trying to get outside of our building thinking, man, this is so amazing. Everybody needs to be here. And we're going to have 200 people show up, and we have like 29 show up. And I'm like, it's amazing, and we get tons of work done, but I'm just being truthful right now. Like, there's expectations.
The fact that you knew the exact numbers, though, it was making me laugh.
Well, maybe it was 39.
It was a real disappointment.
Maybe it was 39. But at the end of the day, how do you, navigate these expectations, and then interruptions, like all the stuff that I talked about as well is included in this conversation. What do you think for reality?
How do you? I mean, it's super simple. You have to communicate them. And whether that's with a spouse or if you're single, you have to say them out loud and process them. So it's not something, if you don't process what you communicate, there's no point in even communicating it. But we always say if it's not written, it's not real. It's almost like if it's not spoken out loud, it's not real. Because if you're not in tune with some of your expectations, disappointment is a guarantee in any situation in life. And she says it in the book. She says, don't make a habit of setting goals based on things outside of your control. And don't put your self-worth in the reactions of other people. And it's a lot easier said than done, but honestly, you have to start communicating with people. Whether it's journaling, write it down. Hey, what are my expectations for this week in regards to work? What are realistic? Talk about that with a boss or a coworker or a team, whatever you do. Whether it's going through the next 6 months, again, in your family. Hey, what are our expectations as a family? We're going to be talking about this next week when we talk about Christmas in July, is what are realistic expectations for Christmas? and where are we going to spend stuff and budget, and are we going to compare our Christmas with other people? So, because if you don't have these conversations, and this is why we're doing it in July to get a head start, because we felt like if we did this conversation in December, most people, at least me, we do our Christmas shopping in November, most people are going to miss it. So it's like, okay, you have to communicate these realities, these expectations, and maybe during your process time, you get good eyes. Maybe you get frustrated and disappointment before you've even experienced disappointment, but maybe it's going to be a lot less harsh. If that makes sense.
No, I love that. And I think especially verbalizing it and then processing it with people, right? I know there's a scripture, there's safety in a multitude of counselors. So that safety in not setting yourself up for failure, in sharing, out loud what expectations are. And yeah, that really is what we're going to be doing over the next couple of weeks. Pastor De'Eric actually had this idea to do something
Don't
early.
share too much, because that's going to be like my intro next week.
Oh, okay.
But you can give a little bit more since you already said it. But it is a lot better than what you're going to say, because I'm going to unpack it for like several minutes.
No, absolutely. I just wanted to give a little glimpse because he actually said something that set it up. He talked about paying for hell.
Yeah.
And how a lot of times we, set ourselves up for failure. We see what everybody else is doing, like you already said, and we think we have to go above and beyond or do something, special or extravagant when maybe that's not what our kids are wanting from us. And then we end up putting ourselves in debt. And then, by the time we, get to Christmas, we're kind of like, man, I'm paying for hell for 6 months later and trying to pay it off. And so really this is going to be kind of a financial series, an expectation series. And it's just 2 weeks. It's going to be good.
Yeah. And so for those of you that have written comments in the comment section, we appreciate that. There's several of you that are looking for prayer. We're definitely going to be lifting you up in prayer. If you haven't, you can go right now to hillcity.tv. If you have more prayer requests than what you want to even put publicly on the comment section, you can write your prayer request or your praise report. We will pray for you this week as a team, as a staff. And yeah, that's what I got.
Okay, yeah, that's all I got too.
Out?
Yeah, I'll close it out with this because today was supposed to be a day of connection. I would love for you to think about over the next, let's say, 3 weeks. So this week, moving in, moving to the end of summer through July, I want you to think about who can you be intentional with in connecting with, like whether it's inviting them to your home, maybe you just invite someone over to dinner. And here's what I'm going to say. Next Sunday, I would love for you to look down the row and maybe see a family, see someone, and actually invite them out to dinner after service. Or if today you're thinking about it or you see other people, if you're watching live, you see other people commenting, they're needing prayer, they're needing connection, maybe you reach out to them just individually. Get with them. Maybe some of the ones that are asking for prayer, you, what is it called? DM, IM, instant message, whatever. Instant message
Such
them.
a boomer.
Oh my God, stop. Instant message them and just say, hey, saw you're looking for prayer. How can I be praying for you? Or, hey, you want to connect this week over coffee? Again, I'm going to keep preaching it, even if we don't see it fully yet. But I think we can make steps right now intentionally in connection and have it be organic, natural, and then really this is kind of a dream of mine that over the next year, let's say, that this place will be thriving in connection and relationships because one of our core values is we don't do life together, and you pick up on that, and you're very intentional about connecting.
Yeah, and if you want more in-depth conversation, we do have a podcast. If you're not aware of it, Two Pastors on a Mic. You can literally go and hit any topic. I think we have 70-something episodes, maybe 80 now, some episodes. You can go get your fill in anything spiritual, anything conversational. And as always, we'll see you back next week. You're loved, and there's nothing you can do about it.
See you, church.
We done? We good? Perfect.